Guys, do you want to be healthier? Do you want to have more energy? Elliot Hulse has a solution for you.
Elliot, now that I have been practicing NoFap, I noticed that when I get down with my lady, I've become a premature ejaculator, which was never a problem before. In fact, I used to last too long to where it was annoying. Now it's like I can't control it and I bust right away. How can I manage this?
Masturbate. I'm not just jerk it. Just jerk it sometimes. I'm not telling you to do it compulsively, but like, just masturbate. It's healthy to masturbate. Like 99.9% of people masturbate, and the people who don't aren't happy. Fucking masturbate. Just jerk it. Just jerk your penis. Go flick the bean. Go do what you gotta do. Just come. You fucking weirdos. Brockagam says, if you like musicals, I'd recommend Bear, a pop opera. It's about two gay kids in their final years of Catholic boarding school, but it does get very sad. Well, I'm not going to watch it then. Muddy says, my dad's favorite hat in a plain red is a plain red baseball cap. I wonder what other people think when they see us together and spot the hat, not knowing it doesn't have any text on it. Yeah, they've basically ruined red ball caps for everyone. What a shame.
So before I get into my opinion on this, I just have to state that I'm not an expert, but I'm on this journey with you.
This isn't medical advice, but don't ever touch your pee-pee.
And I have been doing semen retention for the past 2 months, and I do it in my sexual relationship with my wife because I don't masturbate, but I was having sex and ejaculating multiple times a week. And so I come across...
Which is normal. Pyromancer says, my favorite color has been ruined. I apologize.
This...
Get on Team Purple. I don't think any political party's gonna ruin purple anytime soon. Lily loves stuff with 30 bits. And a link to a TikTok.
Not turned on by a female CEO.
This is what happens when you don't peg your men. Free the strap. Strap rights.
Not turned on by a female CEO.
This is what happens.
That's great. Oops, wrong one.
This thing, I don't know what you call it, called Carezza. This practice is a practice of Carezza. So it which is essentially, if I boil it down to it, it's having sex but not blowing your load. Just keep having sex but not ejaculating, which is interesting because as young men...
That sounds frustrating.
First of all, as men, we're goal-oriented. So there's got to be an end for us to be satisfied.
Ukip's color was purple. I was making a joke.
That's just our nature, right? We want to get to the bottom line. We want to get to the solution.
Tucker White says it's called edging, you pleb. I mean, even with edging, eventually you come.
We want to get to the conclusion. We want to get to the ejaculation, right? Because then it's done. And so when we first start, I would say that 95% of us had our first sexual experience with Miss Palmer and her 10 daughters or 5 daughters, right? Most of us, it came through masturbation. And so we set the stage for ourselves to get to the goal as quickly as possible. I don't know about you, but I remember, right? I think the first time I fapped, I must have been about like 12 or 13 years old. And it was just a mad dash to that busting nut. It was as quickly as I can, whoa, and as fast as it could come, the better. Because
the last thing I need is to hear about Elliot Hulse's adolescent masturbation habits. Why do I put myself through this?
It was like I just wanted to get to that gush, right? And so what ends up...
Can we not call ejaculation gush? I'd appreciate it. The implications of volume with the term gush just make me want to throw up.
Happening is we then treat sex the same way because it's in our nature, and then it becomes a practice, so it becomes ingrained in us to hurry up, get to it. And so there are a few things that I've learned over the course of the past few months while I'm practicing Carezza, which means give your wife all the orgasms she wants. According to
good for his wife. Ice Queen says, was gonna say maybe not watch him ever again. That'd be nice. No, I'm too self-destructive. Speedy Oshi says, what's more dry, Elliot Hulse's wife, Ben Shapiro's wife, or Peter's wife? Ben Shapiro's. Felix Night Owl says, I hate it when he does the as men thing, like women aren't goal-oriented. He does it all the time. Also, how dare he try to speak for all men? Yeah, it's stupid.
This one book called Energy Carezza. 2 books I recommend. The Gentleman's Guide to Carezza, Gentleman's Guide to Carezza Sex, and Energy Carezza.
Oh, did I mention this, by the way? Bad news, guys. You know Bryson Gray that we cover regularly, or covered regularly? We can't cover him anymore. At least we can't cover his videos anymore. He got banned from Twitch. Which is good, but we can't cover him. So if you're ever wondering, why don't we cover Bryson Gray anymore? We'll probably still sometimes see his tweets or things he has said, but we can't outright comment on his videos because he got banned from Twitch for hate speech. Yeah, he's the rapper guy. Tucker White says, oh joy, the porn is harmful garbage that I've heard for years but has next to no scientific evidence to back it up. Muddy says, don't worry, this is a parody video, so you shouldn't get in trouble. It still picks up, I think. Just because it has a lot of the same sounds as the Ghostbusters theme. Pyromancer says, but Elliot, sex isn't for pleasure, it's for making kids and making sure everyone involved is miserable. Ice Queen says, that's a good thing. Yeah, I'm glad, but still, I'll miss making fun of Bryson.
I ain't afraid of no sleep. I ain't afraid of no bed. An invisible bed. Freaky ghost bed.
Freaky ghost bed.
Carezza. I don't remember the author's names, but you can look both those.
I could do it on YouTube, Patreon streams. Yeah, I gotta do some of those soon, by the way. I know, the move kind of screwed me up. I apologize, everyone. Also, I need this shirt. Aslan was Jesus's persona, don't at me. What's the colors? Okay. That's pretty funny. Speedy Yoshi says, me when I heard about Bryson getting banned. I don't know how I'm kind of really mad at Twitter, by the way, because Bryson literally tweeted the other day, like, all the world's problems are caused by Jews, and I reported it to Twitter, and I had a bunch of other people report it to Twitter, and he's still on Twitter, to my knowledge. So I don't know what the fuck Twitter's doing with Bryson. Every time he says homophobic shit, or anti-Semitic shit, or whatever, I report it, I have other people report it, and they never do anything. So I don't know. It's the world's smallest violin clip, but I'm not going to play it.
Those books up. And so, I gather from reading and then also from experience. And I'll tell you a few things that I've learned as a result in order to better control myself. Because it was never a concern to me. I never even thought of it until coming across these ideas of how semen retention. Look, I'm getting older and I need to bust less nuts, which reminds me.
God damn it.
There's another book I want to bring.
Pyromancer says, that's fine with Twitter, but Danny DeVito gets unverified. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Oh, I just had it here. Before I get into some of the techniques that I've learned and that might be helpful to you.
Of course, I don't know if you noticed, but when he stood up behind me, he has a statue of the mythical figure of Atlas holding up the world. And of course he owns a... If you ever walk into a man's home, women, or I guess gay men, if anyone's ever hooking up with a dude and they walk into their house and they have a statue of Atlas anywhere in their house, run away and never contact them again. That's my advice, okay?
Here's another...
I would bet $1,000 that every man that owns an Atlas statue does not eat box, okay? Fact. He thinks he's holding up the world, but he won't go down on you. Colston says, all this shit is just Elliot having a midlife crisis about getting old and losing strength. Probably. Speedy Yoshi says, what's worse than having a statue of Atlas or the book Atlas Shrugged? The Venn diagram of people who own a statue of Atlas and the people who own Atlas Shrugged, everyone who owns an Atlas statue in the year 2021, that circle is completely in the circle of people who own Atlas Shrugged or have read it.
Another book. So I think it's important. In this book, he makes...
Colored by Emmy says, I bet Batman has an Atlas statue. No, Batman is a fictional billionaire, so he actually cares about other people. Batman isn't... Bruce Wayne is not a realistic character, nor is Tony Stark. But, like, they're fictional characters, so they're rich and they give a shit about other people. Ice Queen says, what if I go to a woman's house and there's a statue of Athena? You're probably fine. Pyromancer says, poor Atlas, ruined by Atlas Shrugged. Yep.
Makes it clear that it's not that we never blow our load ever again, but there is a optimal time of retention.
Honey, it's time for your monthly semen milking.
That a man based on his age should go. So, you know, I'm doing my best to last as long as I can, but there should be an end point, and I gotta find it in this book. Oh man.
Does it have like a chart that tells you how much often you should climax at what ages?
It tells you, okay, here. So according to traditional Chinese medicine, this is how often you should blow your load.
Traditional Chinese medicine. Yeah, I trust that.
Which is most healthy. If you do it any more than this, then you're making...
If you have to put a word before medicine, like traditional medicine, it's not medicine. It's folklore.
Self weak. You're...
Muddy says, and that sucks because the Greek mythos is cool as fuck, and also Atlas Shrugged sounds like it could be the name of such a raw book, but of course not. Mike Max with some bits.
Welcome home, Master. Your
Oh yeah, someone showed me this the other day.
balls look mighty heavy today.
I'll carry them.
You're losing your...
The other day, I think I was talking to a libertarian, and I don't remember the context, but it was on Twitter, and they were whining about something, and I said, I think you're crying harder than the first time Ayn Rand cashed a Social Security check or something. Which is pretty good.
Your vitality. And I started to feel like I'm losing my vitality as I was getting older. I'm wondering what's like going on with me, and I was starting to have ED. I was like, well, I don't want to have sex. And it turns out, no, I didn't have ED. I was just blowing my load too much. You need to stop blowing your load. Not stop having sex, stop blowing your load. Guess what happened when I stopped blowing my load? ED went away.
Does he think ED just means not getting horny? Because it kind of sounds like that's what he thinks it is. Like erectile dysfunction, I guess maybe I'd have a misunderstanding of erectile dysfunction, I don't know. But I was under the impression that erectile dysfunction was an issue where you feel aroused, but you are just incapable of rising to the occasion, for lack of a better word, right? Like if he's just not in the mood as often, that's not ED, that's just he's not... doesn't have the libido he used to have. Those are different things. Lord Necro Jay-Z says, came out to my mom as trans and she told me that she loves me and accepts me. Hope your day is going great. That's awesome. I'm really, really happy for you.
I just need to wait long enough to build back up my vitality. And then as long as I don't blow my load, especially for this period of time, there's no ED. There's no ED. Guys who have ED, I'm telling you, part of the reason why you have ED is because you're blowing your load too much, too often.
Dr. Elliot Hulse, men with ED, you're blowing your load too much, too often.
Too soon. Stop blowing your load and ED goes away.
None of this is answering the guy's question, by the way. For those who forgot, because this video feels like it's an eternity long, the guy's question was, Elliot, I took your advice and I stopped masturbating because you told me it's evil or hurts me in some way. And now I stopped, and now when I do engage in sexual activities with my significant other, I'm having issues with premature ejaculation. He has not addressed the question at all at this point.
Here it is. The ancient texts give the following advice. For a man of 20 years...
The ancient texts. Oh boy, I need advice on how often I need to coom. I better reference the ancient texts like we're in Doctor fucking Strange. You're not casting a spell. You're jerking it.
Once every 4 days. So once every 4 days, you should blow your load. At 30, once every 8 days. That's a challenge.
I guarantee the guy that wrote these ancient texts was whacking it twice a day.
At 40, I'm 40, once every 16 days. So really the goal for me is to get past 2 weeks, right? If I get past 2 weeks, and so right now I'm on day 9.
I don't need to know.
And the longest I've gone.
I do not need to know how full your testicles are. Mike Max says, is Elliot a weightlifter because too much of it can fatigue a person, thus reducing sex life? I assume like sex drive. He is a weightlifter, yes. The other day he actually posted a video where he was like really ill. He had some sort of sickness. People in the chat were saying it was COVID. I don't think it was COVID. I don't think he would have been able to be doing what he was doing if he actually had COVID. But he had some sort of respiratory something going on, a cold or a flu or something. And he was still doing weight training through it. It's like, Elliot, I don't even like you, but please, go into bed and eat some soup and watch Netflix or something. Just rest. I think Elliot, and this is complete speculation on my part, I feel like he's... so much of his identity is wrapped around being this, like, strong man weightlifter guy that, like, if he gets sick or as he's getting older and he's less capable than he used to be in those specific fields, you know, lifting heavy things, I think it's affecting his ego, like, a lot in a really negative way, and I think it's not good for him mentally. He needs to start being able to define himself by things other than how much heavy shit he can lift and how much he can lift, how much pain he can lift through. Like, that's not healthy. He's gonna hurt himself. Matthias Octavius, thanks for extending your subscription through September.
It's like 2 weeks, right? And I'd like to go longer too, just for a challenge, just to challenge myself. Just to challenge myself. At 30, once every 8 days.
What did Marvel do to get Chuds into the poo-poo panic mode? We'll go over it later. It's about the second episode of What If.
At 40, once every 16 days. At 50, once every 20 days. And at 60, once a month. Isn't that crazy?
You're only gonna come once a month when you're 60? That's sad. See, I feel like old folk... I'm saying old folks' homes like we're talking about 90-year-olds. But when you're 60 and you're retired... I feel like you'd masturbate a decent bit. I don't know. I'm not saying you're going to be as horny as you are when you're younger, but like, what else you got going on, you know? You're retired, you're at your home, and you're just like, oh. Pyromancer says, I can say from experience, 1 or more a day hasn't been an issue. Nursing home residents fuck a lot. Yeah, there's actually an issue where STDs spread pretty badly, and I mean badly, and they spread well in old folks' homes because they don't use protection a lot because, of course, pregnancy isn't a concern for the vast majority of them, but they're still having sex because they got nothing else to do, and they're interacting with people who live in the same building or community as them if it's like an old folks community. So, like, assisted living facilities and places like the Villages in Florida, if you know about the Villages, which is an old retirement community, I think would be the nicer way to say it, they have big STD problems. Moppy Mutton says, in ancient times, true story, to keep the Nile fertile, the Egyptian pharaoh would have an elegant procession in the river where he would strip and jacket into the Nile. Ancient ways are legit. They should keep that going. Hydrate? Okay. Can we get the Egyptian president to come down and jerk it into the Nile once a year. Does Egypt have a president, or do they have, like, a prime minister? I don't know what Egyptians' modern government is. Egypt's government. Egypt has operated under several constitutions, both as a monarchy and after 1952 as a republic. The first and most liberal of these was the 1923 constitution, which was promulgated just after British declared Egypt's independence. La la la. In 1971, a new Egyptian constitution was adopted by referendum to replace the interim constitution from '64. It was amended in 1980, 2005, 2007. Egypt held its first presidential election in 2005, in which multiple candidates vied for the office, which was conducted by popular vote. Prior to that time, a single candidate had been chosen by the legislature and then confirmed by national plebiscite. Probably mispronounced that. Sorry. So it was sort of like a pseudo parliamentary thing, and now it's sort of similar to just electoral politics for president. Interesting. Yeah, so bring that president down and right into the Nile. Like you're sending Moses off in a fucking bushel basket. Yo in 80 says, Sun Tzu once said, "Know not yourself or your ED, and you shall not blow, but know yourself and watch chuds on YouTube, and you shall get all the women and stuff." I remember that. I remember that. I have that dog-eared in my copy of The Art of War.
Isn't that crazy? So they give us a guideline by which, this is according to traditional Chinese medicine. He says, there are clear guidelines in traditional Chinese medicine about ejaculation of sperm. In general, not more than twice a month is advised because of loss of qi. Other
Clever site. Okay, thank you.
considerations include a man's health and age. The ancient texts give the following advice: for a man of 20, once every 4 days. A man of 30, once every 8 days. A man of 30, once every 8 days. 40, 16 days. You heard me say it anyway. Just reiterating. So,
Nope, DMI, never mind. Stone Corbell says, the loss of chi. Isn't Elliot Hulse a Christian? He's a Christian, but he also believes in a lot of woo-woo bullshit. So
I think that gives some of us a starting point. Now, that is if you're having sex. I don't think he addresses masturbation in this book, but if you've ever read Montauk Chia's book, The Multi-Orgasmic Man, he believes in masturbation, but not to ejaculation. He believes that by masturbating, you're basically, you're having sex with yourself, right? But but you don't do it to the point of ejaculation. You do it simply to circulate that sexual energy. That's what he says. You build it up and you circulate it through stroking, but it's not even really masturbating because you're not coming to a conclusion.
Daughter of Tiamat says, but the player's handbook says I get all my key points after a long rest. D&D.
And so given that, and then these guidelines, you could see that there's something, something for us to strive for. I'm not...
He's still not answered the question at all, by the way. I want to remind you, this started with a question about premature ejaculation resulting from not masturbating.
I'm not sure that these guys, and some of you maybe you, who are allowing your dick to go dormant for 60, 80, 90 days, I'm not sure that that's the best way. Because what I've heard, I don't know, happens is if you go too long without blowing your load, first of all, it could be bad. I don't know to what extent.
Semen retention is really, really great if you love prostate cancer, by the way.
But I've heard that it's not so healthy for you.
It's not. Seriously, if you are a prostate haver, you should clear that out at least a couple times a week, probably.
And then also...
Not that you have to, but studies have shown it helps prevent prostate cancer.
Your body will start to forget.
Or once a week. I don't know what the fucking thing actually said.
That you could get a boner. Your body...
Once a month, is that what it said? Alright. Clear it out every once in a while.
Your body will start to forget what it's like to be sexually aroused. And then it's harder for arousal to come on. And then you become like asexual, like you just don't want...
If you don't masturbate long enough, it'll turn you asexual, and other bad takes on sexuality. Jesus.
Sex anymore, which may be okay if you're a monk, right? Maybe that's what you.
Nurse Hull says, I'll stick to 1 to 2 per day, thanks. I hope you're eating enough protein and drinking enough water. Maybe take an energy bar in with you and just...
You want as a monk, but as a, you know, a man, you know, married man having sex, you want to stimulate. You just
all my Ace fans, have you simply considered jerking off more? How fucking disrespectful and ignorant. Colston says, wait, is this what happened to John Doyle? Oh, don't worry about John. We're covering John in a little bit.
don't want to ejaculate. So, you know, once again, I haven't gone 60, 90, 100 days like some of you guys. I'm aiming for what the traditional Chinese medicine book says, which is 16 days, right? And I'm pretty I really made it a concerted effort because I would like consciously blow my load sometimes, and now I'm just gonna stop consciously blowing my load.
Wait, are you unconsciously blowing your load?
Only have mistakes. I only have very few mistakes, but there are times where I'm like, I just have to do it, right? And I don't know what that is. That's the demon within me. But 16 days for me, and so on and so forth for you guys. You know, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. But that's not the problem for you, right? Because you're not jerking off, which is good. You're not fapping. You're getting with your girl, and as soon as you get inside her, you're blowing your load, which is a problem. I'm gonna stop you guys' videos when you come in. And so here are a few things that I've learned. I read some of these and I practiced some of these techniques so that you can last longer. Number one,
masturbate.
And I'm gonna be all over the place here with these because I'm just gonna call them out as I think of them. Number one, you got to recognize what your deadly positions are. There are certain deadly positions for me, and it's just usually the same for most men. And the deadliest positions are when you're flesh to flesh with your whole partner, right? When you're...
He's referring to his most enjoyable positions as deadly positions. No, men, you must not enjoy sex. You must hate it. Avoid the deadly positions. Sorry, I'm just checking something real quick. It looks like I have something on this. Sorry. Okay, I'm just gonna fuck with that later. Never mind.
When your whole body's lined up. When your whole body's lined up and touching, right? So if my wife is completely on top of me or I'm completely on top of her, and our flesh is our chest is touching, our belly's touching, our legs are touching, everything's touching, that's a deadly position because you're hyper aroused. Because
no, woman, we must not be intimate. We must hit it from behind so that I will not come too quickly. H. Baird, thanks for 8 months. Pyromancer says, hey, Elliot, you could always get a vasectomy. Yeah, right, like, Elliot, why don't you just, like, I don't know, enjoy being intimate with your wife, and then if you finish quickly, that happens, that's fine. There's nothing to be ashamed of with that. Just, like, do other stuff and attend to her. And then maybe you'll be good for round 2. Maybe you won't. That's also okay. But, like, why are you acting as though once you... that it's done? You can do other stuff.
Because too much of your skin is touching, right? If you're touching and you're really touching, then there's hyperarousal.
This sounds like the saddest fucking life ever, where he's like, no, I must not enjoy intercourse with my woman.
You could use your imagination, but there are certain positions where you're pulled off. You're not fully...
I think the issue is that you are getting pulled off. Heyo.
So the skin's not fully touching. It's just what's between the legs. This is what's happening at the hips, right? So you could just think that there are certain positions where you can just get the hips involved, but you're not on top. And not to say that the whole sex act needs to be that way, but when you I'll talk to you about recognizing, you know, when to pull back and when not to. But you got to know your deadly positions. There are certain deadly positions, and those are the positions that you want to be careful with. The other thing too is there's deadly movement. When you're jacking your hips and when you're moving your body, the orgasm reflex, according to Wilhelm Reich, is a wave-like movement within the body. And then you get to a particular point where the root, which is your prostate, because of this movement, right? Because of this humping movement, you get to a particular point where you're like snaking, right? And what do they say? There's like a snake hidden down at the bottom of the pelvis, right? This is according to some philosophies. But really what that is your prostate. And that prostate starts pumping. And so you got to get this, you have to, sometimes instead of you humping, you take her body and you move it back and forth, right? So you stay.
You're still going to be stimulated. That's not... What? What is he talking about? Snake? What? Robert Morley says sex should be joyous. This guy makes it sound like some kind of irksome task. I know, right? It's like he's explaining to someone some sort of like weightlifting routine. Like, all right, do 15 reps of this and make sure your body's in this specific position, otherwise you're gonna hurt your back. Like, dude, what are you doing? Muddy says, there's a snake in my ass.
Stay kind of still and you move her body.
EO180 says, Hannah, if you ever go for the right-wing grift, Hannah-themed load blow timers for chuds. Think about it, $1 million idea.
Right, and she'll like...
I'll make it shaped like... I'll partner with John Doyle, and I'll make it look like his head. And it'll yell at you if you, if you blow your load.
That too, you move her body. But the minute you start moving, you're starting to wake that snake. You don't want to wake that snake up. You want to keep still, keep breathing. Another one. I'm just throwing these all out.
How is it going to know when you blow your load? It's going to have a sensor device that's going to have to be inserted inside you, so it's going to have to connect to the prostate, and then once or twice a day, in order to detect that it's still attached, there is a vibrating motion. But don't worry, okay? It's a medical device. It's not gay. Stone Corbell says, wake the snake sounds like an advertising slogan.
Here for you guys, just pick and choose. I find that when I'm on my...
Do you guys remember, you know how like in the 20s and 30s and stuff, there were like dildos and vibrators and sex toys that were marketed as other things because it was too lewd and people were embarrassed to buy them? I'm going to do the same thing, but for like... cis hetero men who are embarrassed to want to be involved with like prostate stimulation but still want to try it. So it's going to be marketed as like shop vac for men, for manly straight men, but like you open the vacuum and you stick it in your ass and it makes you come. I don't know. There's an idea in here somewhere.
Feet. I have better control when I'm on my feet.
Killjoy says, better idea if the prostate probe detects your arousal, it gives your prostate an electric shock.
Right? And there are certain times of the day I have better control. I have better control at night than I do in the morning. Right? Just be paying attention to myself, and I'm giving you these tips so you can figure yourself out too. When I'm on my feet, I have total control when I'm on my feet.
But what if someone has sexomnia, Elliot? I have a friend who has sexomnia. He can't help but blow his load. Pyromancer says, we carry a vibrator that's disguised as lipstick. Also, huge uptick in stolen sex. Bittergrin says, power tool shaped anal vibrators.
I have endless control when I'm on my feet. But if I, get off my feet, well then, it could be different. Morning time is a deadly time too.
You remember Jake sharing that story? Hey, I didn't say it was Jake. Maybe I know other corn cob people with sexomnia, okay? I can know more than one corn cob person who fucks while they sleep.
So those are the deadly situations that you can avoid. Here's another thing that I discovered that we have to learn how to do. when we get sexually aroused, we get tense. I don't know if you noticed this, but I'll
You
even,
do?
especially in the morning, because I'm not as in control of myself, I'll notice that my breathing changes and I'll tense up certain parts of my body. And I'll even tense those parts of my body in anticipation of ejaculation. And so we have to pull back that anticipatory tension in our body.
What? Even before I was on, like, estrogen and T blockers, that is not what my arousal felt like. What is he talking about?
Because when we have that tension in our body, it's like we're trying to push it out. You ever feel like...
He's trying to push out the what? He thinks when people get horny, when men get horny, he thinks that they're like, oh, I gotta push out I gotta do a big cum. That's not how it works.
You're like, almost like trying to push your ejaculate out.
What are you talking about? This feels like that scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin where he's like, you know how boobs feel like a bag of sand? Ashy Boo says he's given himself anxiety about orgasm, so now he gets tense when he's aroused. He fucked himself over. It kind of sounds like it. Killjoy says this guy sounds like he's shitting when he nuts.
Right? It's like it feels so good that you're just like, you know, you squeezing your butt and you're like you're almost
What the fuck is he talking about, guys?
pushing it out.
Ice Queen says that's the second time you've referenced that scene in like a week. I guess it's a good week for references to that movie. Sky Comet Fallen says, I'm so uncomfortable. Cis men. Okay, are there any cis men here that can confirm or deny what the fuck Elliot is saying? Is this an Elliot thing? Or is this genuinely a thing that I just don't understand because trans? So far, everyone is saying, no, it's just him. Okay, great. Thought so. Just wanted to make sure.
What you got to do is pull back that tension back into your body, and then breathe and soften all the muscles in your body. I used to do this meditation where I would scan my whole body from top to bottom, and I would feel like what it feels like. Like I would just imagine like a scan, like a scanner, like a supermarket scanner, scanning from the top of my body to top to the bottom. If you breathe, right, just breathe. And I'm giving you a whole lot of stuff here. One of the things you got to do is you got to breathe longer. 5 seconds in, pause 5 seconds, breathe, exhale 5 seconds. As you're breathing, scan and feel your body from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head, right? This all while you're having sex. That's why a man has to be in control of himself when he's having sex. A woman, when she's having sex, she lets go of control. This is huge right here. We act like women. That's just the way it is in our culture right now. We know nothing about being men. We get most of our ways from women, behaving like women, thinking like women, mommy. And women, they let go in ecstasy during sex. And in a way...
Fellas, is it gay to enjoy sex with your wife? Felix Night Owl says, shitting during sex should now and forever be known as taking a Hulse.
Because we're effeminate, we do the same thing. We want to have sex. We want to let go in sex. But it doesn't work that way for men. Men, again, we have to build our value. The burden of performance is always on the man. And that's okay, because that's what being a man's about.
Wow, he must just live the most miserable fucking life ever. Wow, this is really sad. Killjoy says, it's only gay if you don't shit. Sorry. Morok says, I've never had sex. Sucked dick quite a bit, but due to trauma, never allowed myself to be touched. I assume this isn't good advice, is it? No, this is terrible advice. This is really, really bad advice he's giving men. Ice Queen says, shitting during sex should now and forever be known as taking a Hulse. I second that.
That's what we signed up for, and I'll take that responsibility. I'll let my woman have all the orgasms she wants and let her fully let go.
Like, it seems like he feels sex is a chore for him. Like, he has to go and, okay, I need to go make my wife come X number of times, and then I don't come because it's bad, because it's effeminate for me to come with my wife. It's so weird. Yo180 says, men having sex with their wives sounds gay.
Let go, baby. But the man, right, she needs to surrender to the orgasm. And a lot of women can't even do that. They can't even surrender to the orgasm. So they are too masculine, these women.
AKA, there are women he couldn't make come, and therefore it's their fault. It's not that he's bad at it. It's not that they weren't just they just weren't sexually compatible. It's that those women were too masculine, and that's why they couldn't come when they were with Elliot. That's a cope. That's a real bad cope. Hydrate.
Women that can't surrender into the orgasm. But men not supposed to surrender. Men don't surrender in orgasm. Men maintain control of himself during sex. You got to be self-conscious during sex. You can't be...
That's like the worst advice I've ever heard. Be self-conscious during sex. Oh my god. Poor... I don't like Elliot, but I actually feel really bad for him here. His poor fucking life must be miserable. He's in a prison of his own design.
Ecstatic. It's not for us to be ecstatic during sex.
Elliot, are you attracted to women? Do you want sex? Are you asexual? That's fine if you are. If you don't enjoy sex, like, that's okay. But, like, be honest with yourself about that then. What are you doing? Ice Queen says, never give up, never surrender. And Princess Amelia says, literally all I'm getting from this is men aren't allowed to enjoy sex. Muddy says, do not come. Blue balls only. Simple Cat Girl says, Elliot, sex is supposed to be good to both partners. Men are allowed to like sex and be a moaning mess, right?
It's not for us to let go during sex.
I can say, I've never met a single woman who wanted their partner to be this stoic, like, I am humping, you know what I mean? I've never met a single woman that I've talked to about sex who hasn't expressed that they enjoy when their partner shows that they're enjoying themselves, makes noise, you know, expresses how they're feeling during sex. I'm not saying that person doesn't exist. I'm saying I've never met them. And I've talked to plenty of women about, you know, sex stuff. So, I don't understand.
It's for us to be focused during sex. I know this is crazy. It sounds crazy. And it almost sounds like, well, what's the point? Well, you'll see. Because there's a great advantage to having lots of sex but not blowing your load.
Felix Night Owl says, what's the point then, Elliot? He's getting to it. I don't know what it's going to be, but he's getting to it.
So, breathing, scanning your body. Be aware of your whole body. If you find that you start holding tension, and all of us are different. I will start to, like, squeeze my butt, or I'll, like, squeeze my feet, or my breathing will get shallow. If that starts to happen, then you have to back off a little bit and then allow those areas of tension to relax. And then you relax that, right? So you're stroking, right? Maybe she's on top of you, you're on top of her, whatever it is. You're doing the thing, but you're conscious of yourself. If you get wrapped up in her, the way she looks, the way she's moaning, the things she's doing, you're gonna lose yourself. She will take you off your focus. You gotta focus. It's work. It's work. It's work. But it's worth it.
What the fuck is his problem? Is he okay? What the fuck?
Another one.
Elliot, I don't know how to tell you this. Sex is not supposed to feel like work. It's a recreational, intimate activity. If you feel like sex is work, you're probably not that interested in the sex you're having. I don't know if it's who you're having it with, or the kind of sex you're having, or sex in general. But if you think sex is work, primarily like that, something is wrong. Sky Comet Fallen says, why doesn't he just wear a condom? This is the most ridiculous birth control method ever. It's not a birth control method. He just thinks, he's the kind of guy that thinks once he comes, the sex is over.
I'm just giving you, again, this is not like a comprehensive ebook where you're just gonna follow step by step. It's me just telling you stuff off the top of my head. Clench your teeth. I breathe through my nose, but I clench my teeth. I read this in a book called The Tao of Sexology.
If your method for getting through sex with your wife is the same method that Civil War doctors used to have patients do when they were amputating their legs without any sort of anesthetic, when they'd put leather and they'd have them bite down real hard, you might not be straight. I'm not saying he's gay. He might be ace, but something's wrong. Like, sex should not be a thing you are getting through, like it's an ordeal. Does he understand this isn't normal? He needs to talk to every sex therapist in the world. Jude McLeod says, sex shouldn't feel like work, and that, boys and girls, is how I found out I'm Demi. Von Tuck says, late but finally caught a stream, and it's Chud's. Hell yeah, what did I miss? Also, Chud broken regarding sex. Color me shocked, sarcastically shocked.
Many years ago, but I don't know how it works or why, but if you clench your teeth.
His wife helps with the videos. She's definitely going to see this. How does she feel about this?
And keep your face relaxed.
Because if I found out, like, my partner was gritting their teeth to, like, air quote, get through sex with me, I'd be disgusted with myself. Not that it's on her, but I'm just telling you how I would feel. I would think there was something wrong with me, or I would just feel terrible and not want to engage with intimacy with them. Like, what the fuck?
Next.
74 Quinn 74 says, I think he likes sex, but he's forcing himself to hate it for his, quote, medical stuff, and yeah, he needs a sex therapist. I think he needs a sex therapist and a therapist.
And breathe, it gives you more. I have more control when I clench my teeth. Why? I don't know. More control when I clench my teeth. And I'll give you this last final tip, right? This last final tip. You have to be aware of your state of arousal. We got to be aware of our state of arousal. Like I said, men can't let go in sex. We don't have the luxury of letting go in sex if you're using sex for cultivation like we're talking about right now. If you're just using sex for, or masturbation, you just want to blow your load because you're addicted to orgasm, that's a totally different thing.
Fellas, is it addiction to enjoy when you have sexual experiences? Necromancer says, okay, to all men feeling anxious about performance while having sex with women, I just have one tip. Just do long foreplay and give her oral and ask her what she likes and how you can make her come with your mouth. Work on things like that, and then you can relax with the rest, which will actually be better for both of you. Yeah, I think a lot of dudes get really, really nervous about it, and it's counterintuitive. I think that men, particularly young men, and this is, take this as you will. It seems to me that a lot of them do sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy where they get so worked up over the idea of sex and anxious about it that they wind up ruining the experience for themselves. So, like, just chill out. Don't take it too seriously. Stay safe. Have protection. Make sure all consent is involved. And just have a good time. It's fine if you come. It's fine if you come immediately. That doesn't mean the sex has to be over. Yo180 says, this guy reads too many Wuxia novels. Cultivating your D, really? I don't know what Wuxia is.
But when you're
or getting to pegging.
Man that's cultivating his masculinity, cultivating your sexuality, then sex becomes kind of a workout. But it's so worth it. I don't know about you, man, but it's so worth it to be able to please my woman that way and to be in just master of my domain, right? I'm in control. I decide when I'm going to let go. So you got to be aware of your state of arousal, and you got to give yourself maybe like, from 1 to 5. 1 being like, hey, I'm good. I can keep going. 5 being, it's about to blow. And you don't want to get to the point where it's about to blow. Because then there's other techniques that you got to do, like they call it the $1 million spot, right between your balls and your butthole. You got to take your fingers and you got to jam it right there, right where the semen is supposed to come out. Jam your fingers right there and hold it. And
no, don't do that.
Your prostate might even be orgasming, like pumping, but you don't let that semen out. And I've caught that a couple times. I've had.
Okay. Health tip: if you're coming, don't try and fucking. What are you doing, Elliot? That's so bad for you. What? Is he saying that he will physically his like, you know, his prostate will, and he'll like hold his penis like it's a hose and he's trying to keep it from coming out? You're gonna fucking hurt yourself, Elliot. What are you doing? Oh, this poor guy. Profane Priestess says Wuxia, Chinese martial arts fantasy. Thinks Samurai Jack. Okay.
Had to do that. Boom. And then you go into like a crunch and flex and you go, argh! Right? You got to forget about the girl, right? Throw her off you. Boom. Argh!
Yeah, I'm sure your wife loves that. Oh my god.
You got to bear down on it and
Profane Priestess says Samurai Jack is Japanese, but same idea. Okay.
hold it and like flex your abdominals.
This is horrifying.
But you don't want to get to that point because that's terrible. You don't want to do that. So
why does his wife even have sex with him? This sounds terrible. Robert Morley says, crimp the wee-wee.
Kind of losing steam here. But I thought that was a...
Just come. I missed your bits. I'm sorry. Simple Cat Girl says, one thing I hate about society is this need to tell people how to see sex as this weird activity that's only fun for one person or no one. Like my guy, men and women are allowed to enjoy sex. Also, Elliot, you don't have to force yourself to have sex, right? His wife can definitely do better. I'd hope so. Morok says, Oh, fuck it, I'll read it. Morok says, I just go deep and slow. Make sure to use my tongue and lips. I ask my partner where they want me to focus. It's all about my partner. I want to give pleasure, and doing so gives me joy and fulfillment. Great. I'm glad I marked these streams as mature, so they're 18 plus.
A great question, and those are some good things to look into. Look into those books that I'm talking about. The Gentleman's Guide to Carezza Sex. Look into...
Not once did he mention, like, this has all been about PIV sex. Not once has he mentioned using his hands or mouth on his wife. Just curious. How often is she faking it? EO&AD says, Wuxia, Anglican Wushu, Chinese martial arts story, where people can split mountains and whatnot, including some stories of people cultivating the lower parts. Oh, their lower parts, rather. Gotcha. You didn't miss John Doyle. We're doing him next.
The Multi-Orgasmic Male. Look into Energy Carezza. It's a book that I think is out of print, but is a well worth reading. It's written by a doctor. And then, of course, Listen to Your Body. I mean, basically what I've said in this is just one chapter on sex energy. And just remember,
Hydrate.
right? Most of you guys are in your 20s. So once every 4 days is not that bad. I was doing that in my 30s and 40s, and then I started losing my vitality. In your 30s, once every 8 days, so on and so forth. So I hope that helps, dude. Done.
Yo, it's your bro.
That was not helpful for the question that guy asked at all. The guy again asked, Elliot, I did what you told me. I stopped masturbating, and now I prematurely ejaculate. At no point in his rambling, incoherent nonsense did he give anything that even resembles an answer to the question that was asked, and we are all stupider for hearing it. So that's fun. Von Tuck says, I can always count on chuds to make me feel better about myself as a lover. Damn, these dudes are fucked up. And Jeff Millarth says, studying abroad in England, I met people whose attitude was basically, sex is a race and only one of us can come, and I have no clue how those people ever get laid. That's fucking stupid. Humans are the worst. Alright, this is a 30-second one, and it says, masturbation ruins men.
First of all, as men, we're goal-oriented. So there's got to be an end for us to be...
Oh, it's just a cut-up version of what we just watched. Jesus Christ, Elliot. So that's what he's up to. Not coming.